Why? It's because the Alamo Sea has so much lore, it's unbelievable. In GTA 5, the Alamo Sea isn't really that important. In story mode, there is a plane at the bottom of the Alamo Sea, but in GTA Online, there's nothing. Now, we all know what that plane is from. It's from the mission Minor Turbulence in story mode, where Trevor crashes the cargo plane into the Alamo Sea. But apart from that, the Alamo Sea is pretty much useless until you know the lore in real life. Now, obviously, every location in GTA 5 is based on somewhere in California, and the Alamo Sea is based directly on the Salton Sea, a very interesting location. So you've probably all noticed that Sandy Shores is a complete dump. Abandoned vehicles, abandoned buildings, it looks like nobody lives there at all. Because Sandy Shores is directly based on the surrounding locations of the Salton Sea in real life. One of these examples is Bombay Beach. It's pretty much a wreck in real life, and this is what they based Sandy Shores on. So the Alamo Sea is based on the Salton Sea in real life. Well, the Salton Sea was once one of the most popular resorts in America during the 1950s and the 1960s. The entire shoreline of the Salton Sea was basically a beautiful beach where people would come on holiday, where they'd take their boats, famous people would come and see it. It was one of the most beautiful and popular attractions across the entirety of America. But now the Salton Sea, Bombay Beach, and all of these surrounding locations are completely abandoned. There are still residents that live nearby to the Salton Sea, but it is no longer an attraction. It's a forgotten location in America. So what happened to the Salton Sea? Why was it so popular in the 1950s and the 1960s, and now it's a ghost town? Well, it's because the body of water known as the Salton Sea was never supposed to exist. It's not a naturally made body of water, it's man-made. You see, in 1905 there was a canal created by people. It was to get water from the Colorado River to the Imperial Valley for farming reasons, so they used a canal to transport water. But they made a mistake, because heavy rain then caused this canal to overflow and divert water into the Salton Basin for the next 2 years. It took them 2 years to repair and stop this. And those 2 years of that canal overflowing created the Salton Sea. And the water never went away because there was so much of it, so people made it a resort. They created boating clubs, they made it a huge attraction, they even put fish in the Salton Sea for sport purposes. They basically created their own beautiful lake. But the Salton Sea isn't natural, so it doesn't have any connecting rivers or streams. It just sits there. A body of water that sits there. A body of water that sits there. So over the many years, the water would sit there, evaporate, and then leave behind all of the salt until the salinity was higher than seawater itself. Imagine that, a lake with salinity higher than seawater. That's insane. In result of this, all of the fish that they put into the lake themselves would die and pollute the lake even more. And because of this, the Salton Sea is now California's most polluted inland lake. That, of course, killed the resort, and now it's even dangerous to live near the Salton Sea because it can cause breathing issues. And that explains why Sandy Shores is so run down and abandoned, because the same thing happened in GTA 5. Sandy Shores was once a popular tourist destination, and now the Alamo Sea is polluted, so the remaining residents that live there, like Trevor, are risking their lives. In real life, the nearby residents set up a thing called Save the Salton Sea. It's basically a petition, they put up signs, and the idea is they want the government to put funding into saving the Salton Sea to try and make it how it once was before. And Rockstar put the same thing in GTA 5. If you look around Sandy Shores, you can find the words Save the Sands. It's written everywhere around Sandy Shores, so in abandoned buildings, on walls, in swimming pools, and it's the in-game version of Save the Salton Sea, Save Our Sands. Another interesting detail is the sandbanks around Sandy Shores. These sandbanks exist because in real life the Salton Sea has been known to flood, because once again the Salton Sea is not a natural lake, so when it rains a lot it will flood. Some of the buildings in Sandy Shores are also directly inspired by real life buildings in the same area of the Salton Sea. Good examples of this are the Windmill House and the Boathouse. So now you know why Sandy Shores looks the way it does. It's because the Alamo Sea is polluted and it's based on the real-life tragedy of the Salton Sea. So in the 1950s and 60s, Sandy Shores would have been a huge tourist destination. And that leads me on to the nearby famous abandoned motel. This motel in GTA has a big history. A lot of fake videos were made here. It's an interesting area and it's definitely spooky at night with the smashed windows and the blood on the walls, but the backstory of this motel and why it's abandoned connects to the Salton Sea. You see, this motel used to exist in real life and it used to look exactly the same as it does in-game. In real life, it was called the North Shore Motel and it was right next to the Salton Sea. The motel was sadly demolished at the end of 2008, 4 to 5 years before the release of GTA 5. But by 2009, Rockstar had already started developing GTA 5. They'd already sent their scouts out to the Salton Sea into California, and they'd found this motel. And I guess they decided to keep it in the game even after the real-life version was demolished. Now, before this motel was demolished, it was abandoned for years, because the prime of this motel was in the 1950s and the 1960s. It thrived off of the resort, off of how popular the Salton Sea was back then. Many rich and famous people visiting the Salton Sea stayed in this motel. That's why it was so popular. An example of one of these famous people was Marilyn Monroe. But like I said, the pollution of the Salton Sea killed the entire area and everything nearby was forced to shut down. One of these things being the motel. Killing the famous North Shore Motel. Now obviously it sat abandoned for years afterwards and it was demolished at the end of 2008. The reason for it being demolished was because obviously it was abandoned and kids would break in there to drink. And it's actually quite hard to find much detail about this motel on the internet, because one of the only videos of this motel is in Rachel Yamagata's music video for the song Elephants. This is a 15-year-old YouTube video of her and cinematics of the motel. She decided to go there to film her music video, which makes it incredibly unique as it's one of the only videos ever of this motel. You can also see parts of the Salton Sea in her music video, but it was still abandoned back then because that was only 15 years ago. The prime was in the 1950s and the 1960s. But still, this motel being in GTA 5 is still kind of special as it doesn't exist anymore and it didn't even exist when GTA 5 released. It's a part of history stuck in a video game. But all of this aside, in real life there is some fairly good news for the Salton Sea. It looks like they have a 10-year plan on how to fix the pollution in the water and restore the nearby area. So all of these nearby towns that Sandy Shores is based on will be rebuilt, meaning GTA 5 will be incredibly out of date. But regardless of that fact, GTA 5 still has some incredible lore that still holds up to this day. The words "Save the Sands" were 3 words, but it unlocked a whole lot of backstory. Now I will be doing more GTA location lore like this in the future. I do some of these videos on my TikTok and I really do enjoy them, so there will be video complete. If you learned something new, drop a like because that helps me out an incredible amount, and make sure you have a great day.